What's up, YouTube? So before we get started with this video, on First Take, we're going to be talking about, should the Golden State Warriors still feel confident in this series? So let's see what they have to say about that.
The Warriors could have both Klay and KD back in Game 4. Do you think they should still be confident after last night's loss?
Hell yeah. Let me be very clear.
I don't know. I'm not buying your face.
Listen. Because here's the reality. The Toronto Raptors are in a better position right now. They've been the better team for 10 of the 12 quarters. They've played better. We get all of that. They're healthier than the Golden State Warriors. The Toronto Raptors should win this series. Please don't get me wrong. But I'm not jumping off the ship. My point is this. No one has really thought about this, so I'm going to say it. If the Warriors were to lose Game 4,
okay,
and go down 3-1, and then KD came back, and they won Game 5, Game 6, Game 7. First of all, there's only one time that it's been done in history. Your man LeBron James did it a couple years ago, again 3 years ago against Golden State. We get all that. But if KD does that walking into free agency, you talk about a storyline for the ages. I kind of love it. I'm kind of thinking about this right now. You know, I'm not scared. My thing, what I want is for Klay Thompson. That's the person I really felt sorry for last night. Look on his face. It's just so depressed. Boy, you talk about somebody that wanted to play. You talk about somebody that wanted to play so badly. But if Klay Thompson and KD comes back, I'm here to tell you right now, even if the Warriors were down 3-1, I'd still be sitting here telling you they're coming back. That's how I feel about it.
I just don't know if KD's coming back.
So I agree with Stephen A. Smith, just for the simple fact that so Steph Curry put up 47 points last night. Just the fact that he kept it relatively close, because I think there's a few times where they were within 4 of tying, if not taking the lead. And Steph Curry was really the only one that was balling. So like I said, he went 47, 8, and 7. He kept it relatively close. And the Toronto Raptors, they were all balling. So you could just imagine if Klay or Kevin Durant come back, they would definitely be able to clean up the deficit that they lost by. I can definitely see them coming back and definitely changing this series. Because like I said, Steph, he kept it relatively close by himself. So if he just had 1 or 2 other shooters with him, I think they can definitely change this series. Along with, Toronto, like I said, Toronto, they were all balling. So I think if Klay or Kevin Durant come back, that's definitely going to change the way this series turns out. And if they do, the Golden State Warriors do come back and win it, that's not going to change much with Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson being free agents. It's not like they're going to get any more money or it's going to change. It just makes for a better story. So that's not going to give them any more value. It's just going to have them have an even better story. But I think the Golden State Warriors should definitely still be confident. So let's keep going.
I just don't know if they're coming back. But that's where I'm coming from.
The thing about whether or not the Warriors should be confident, to me, Klay is obviously very important, especially without KD. But the Warriors were outplayed for the first 2 games by Toronto. They had Klay. They were outplayed. You guys were outplayed. I mean, you won Game 2. You were lucky. You were lucky in a couple different ways. Toronto was just missing.
Sorry, he's a troll out here.
I'm not trolling. I'm telling you the truth. Your transition defense got better, but that has nothing to do with Toronto missing open shots. They missed a lot of open shots that they hit in the first game. Maybe they hit more.
So I don't know how you can say that, Max, because in Game 1, what was it? Pascal Siakam got 32 points. Marc Gasol got 20 points. And was it Van Felt? He had 15 points. That's not around their averages. That's not their average. They were playing above and beyond, and they were just having great games. And in Game 2, they were nowhere to be found. And Klay and Steph, they had good games, actually kind of like good to average games, and they beat them. So it's more likely that the Golden State Warriors are going to maintain and outshoot the Toronto Raptors than it would be like what happened in Game 1 with Pascal Siakam getting 30 points and Marc Gasol putting up 20 points and Van Felt putting up 15 points. That's why they got beat, because they didn't have a super stellar game again. But I would bet money that the Golden State Warriors are going to be able to outshoot the Toronto Raptors again and be able to beat them, especially if Klay and Kevin Durant come back. Even if they're not at 100%, I can picture them out shooting Toronto again. And I can't, like I said, Toronto, those guys aren't going to maintain having super stellar games again. Maybe one other time, but I would not count on that consistency. I just wouldn't. So let's keep going.
They should have in the first game. They still would have won if that was a little lower, but they missed more than they should have in the second game, and that's why they lost the game. That's 2 straight games you got outplayed with Klay. Now, if KD comes back, of course you're confident because the Warriors with KD are an unbeatable team. You're not going to lose. Kenny, that's like if the 72...
Even if they were down 3-1?
Let's put it this way. If you're down 3-1, you're probably still going to lose. But I'll tell you this, even if they came all the way back, it's not the same thing that LeBron did against the Warriors because these Raptors are not the Warriors. This is not the 73-win Warriors.
I will tell you, I've been blessed to be on a team that was down 3-1 and come back. That was in the Western Conference Finals against the Phoenix Suns.
Yep.
Blessed to be on that team. Those things are possible, but we're talking about 2-1, honestly. But regardless, this is the difference as everyone... We see all of these highlights and see everything else. I don't care who's on the floor with Golden State. If you don't score 115 points, you don't win. So as much as we talk about, they still had 109 points. So now you're saying that those in game 2 that they were able to knock down shots. We have a whole saying, there's a reason you're open. We want you to be open. We want you to take those shots. You are the guy that we actually want you to beat us. And if you can do that over 4 games, we're going to shake your hand. We're going to help you raise the banners and everything else. But we're going to bet that those guys cannot consistently knock down shots in key moments.
Well, let me say this
over a 7-game series. That's what Golden State is banking on. And the last thing about Steph, I think overall what Steph has done is Not that he's. I think you said something about he didn't change. He hasn't had key moments. I think, and just as, not because I'm here with these guys, I think Steph Curry has changed the way basketball's played for the last 5 years.
Of course,
just his ability to create a different environment.
Talent.
There are guys that he is what Magic Johnson was. He is what Charles Barkley was. And with the back down rule, he's what Michael Jordan has been with the ability to you can't isolate on the floor. And it was a time where we were stopped comparing him to LeBron James. And we were saying, oh, it's KD or LeBron. He's saying, no, I'm still in the conversation.
Let me just address each one real quick. There are 3 things. One, Steph, I would never deny that. Steph reinvented the game, kind of. He changed the game. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you need him most. Can you come through or not? He's a more mature player now. I've not seen that from him in the past in the finals.
We've been in this city for the last 5 years.
Yeah, but that's because...
And what happened last game? He got 47 points. Talking about he doesn't show up. He got 47 points last game. They didn't win, but he did his part. There's nothing more he can do. He needs a supporting cast. Max?
That's because that brings me to number 2. That brings me to number 2. They were if Kyrie and K-Love don't get hurt, LeBron took him 6 games without anybody. I'm pretty sure Cleveland wins that series if he has his second and third best players who are all-stars with him, if he could take him 6 games without. That's 1. 2, they beat him the next year. So until KD got there, they weren't this unbeatable team. Now, KD getting there changes everything. Imagine if the Bulls won 72 games and then added Olajuwon, right?
Without question.
There'd be no way to beat them. That's what they're dealing with now.
But you can't negate 72.
No doubt. They're a powerhouse team. Kenny, I'm not arguing that they're a powerhouse team. Number 3.
He made them a dime. This is what I always say about this, Max. I say they were KD made them a dynasty.
Right.
But they were always champions.
They were champions.
He just makes them a dynasty.
They were champions. They were championship caliber. KD makes them invincible.
Right. He makes them a dynasty.
You can't touch them with KD. It's too much. And finally, I'll say this about Game 4. I think the Warriors could maybe win a Game 4, but just keep this in mind, everybody. Kawhi hasn't had a monster game yet. He's been excellent. He has not had a monster game yet. And you've been outplayed in 3 consecutive games.
Yeah, Max, and to tell you the truth, you've really seen the best of what Toronto has. So Kawhi hasn't had a monster game, even though, 2 games ago, he had, I think, 34 points, which is very good. So we've pretty much seen all of Kawhi Leonard's supporting cast, the best that they can do, with Kawhi having decent games. So we've seen pretty much them on all cylinders, and they still kept, Steph Curry still kept it within 4 points to tying up to taking the lead. And he had no backup. So what's going to happen when Klay gets back? Or what's going to happen if Kevin Durant gets back? And they're firing all cylinders. Like I said, we've pretty much seen the best of what the Toronto Raptors have, but we haven't seen the best of Golden State. So let's keep going.
I'd ask you to keep this in mind, since you always asking somebody else to keep something in mind. All right? Keep in mind that the Warriors are not a team. You live out west. You've watched them. They are not a team, Max, that beats you a bunch of quarters. There have been many, many games that the Warriors have beaten you where they just won one quarter or two quarters. Yeah. They're knockout punches. Yeah. And so I don't want to hear about, Toronto outplayed them in 10 of the 12 quarters. The reason why you lost game 2 is because the Warriors went on an 18-0 run to start the second half. It was a knockout punch. Now, we can sit up there and Toronto almost came back. But what I'm saying to you, this is how the Warriors beat you. Because when you go to the finals, and you know this too, Mr. Two-time champion,